Got myself a butter burger. It was decent, but I might enjoy their chicken sandwiches and chicken tenders more. What I really am enjoying is the frozen custard. Why did you leave Excalibur and the Horns of the South?
It was supposed to be a reminder. The sword was never just steel. It was the symbol of what we stood for. Strength, justice, the will to carve a path forward. A weapon, yes, but also a promise. I wanted them to remember, to fight for those ideals, to uphold them, even when I was gone.
Unfortunately, that's not something you can actually count on. Even if you leave control in the hands of somebody you trust 100%, somebody who would have done just as good a job as you, there's always going to be that one person, that one thing, holding the whole kingdom back. They say the future isn't guaranteed. Well, it's not just the fact that physically it isn't guaranteed, but it's also not guaranteed to be good or bad. You may have plans, your whole community may have a vision, the whole state, country, continent may have visions and plans for the future, but that doesn't mean they're actually going to be executed. Because whether through the will of a deity or the natural course of the universe, that vision or those plans, they're not going to be executed 100%. Maybe not even 5%, which is why you got to be prepared for anything and everything. That's probably the real lesson we should be taking away from a character like Batman. He always has a contingency plan for something. Do you remember anything about Merlin?
Merlin saw Avalon for what it was long before the rest of us. He told me that Tintagel wouldn't hold, not forever. That the weirdness would gnaw at our walls, at our minds.
Apparently that is the case so far. I came across some bandits the other day, and they were not themselves.
To carve some sense into this land. And in the end, the land swallowed him whole anyway. Not a beast, not a man, not something we ever had words for. A shadow wearing 1,000 torn banners.
Could be that monster that attacked me and Caradoc during our journey to Avalon.
Raised his staff, spoke a name I didn't recognize. And then he was gone.
The men here. What do you think happened?
I have no idea. The Menhirs were Merlin and Nimue's domain. I was mostly just relieved they worked. Although I've always felt an odd sense of familiarity with them. I think they reacted to the power we now wield. But tell me, are you well? You were unconscious for a while.
I'm not going to accuse him of not caring, because maybe he does. You don't know?
I'm not inside your mind. I can watch, and sometimes I can help, but nothing more than that.
I feel like I don't know who I am anymore. That's how I started the game.
I'm sorry. I know this isn't a life you would have chosen for yourself. But you've conducted yourself admirably. As long as I'm here, I'll help you however I can.
Still can't tell if this is part of his plan to manipulate me or something. What do you think of Lord Yvain?
Well, the apple has fallen far from the tree. I see a man trying to please everyone. That is the gravest sin a leader can commit.
Really? Starting to feel like maybe Arthur should be trusted, even though I didn't wanna. Though, admittedly, not for practical reasons. I just wanted him to be the villain because that's more interesting. Now, he probably didn't mean it that trying to please everyone is actually evil, but that he is discouraging it. Because if you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing nobody. Replace sin with mistake, and it makes a bit more sense. But even then, I don't think I agree with that either. When I think of the worst thing you can do as a leader, as the chief of your tribe, it would probably be making consistent decisions that lead your people into great ruin. Could this also be a result of trying to please everyone? Maybe, but I don't know. But again, you should be prepared for anything and everything, including the toughest of choices that could result in some people not getting exactly what they want. You can try and please the people as much as you can, but in retaliation, you and the people you work with, everybody who makes all the decisions, could suffer. And if the higher power suffers, then so do the people, right?